Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name's Angela Baker, and I'm the business librarian at the Mount Prospect Public Library. And I want to welcome you to this evening's program, Leverage AI for Career Success. Transform your resume and job search with AI. I am joined tonight, though, by our presenter, Rosie Zilinskas. Rosie is an executive career coach and career progression expert. I first connected with Rosie through her work at the Barrington Career Center, and she currently meets with patrons of the Mount Prospect Public Library one-on-one for resume review and career guidance as our career coach. And I know that in Rosie's work as a career coach, she is both highly compassionate and highly effective, and I know this because our patrons tell me so. And I'm so grateful for her partnership with the library. And I'm grateful that she's here tonight to update us on this incredibly important topic that is so quickly changing how job seekers and career changers approach their searches. So thank you, Rosie, for being here. And now I will turn it over to Rosie.
All right. Thank you, Angela. Good evening, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. So let me pull up my... All right, Angela, if you could just confirm that you can see the screen here.
Looks good.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining me. We are going to be talking a lot about leveraging your career success and transforming your resume and your job search with AI. Now, before we get started, if you can put Angela, I'm not sure how the Q&A works. Can they put a number in if I ask them a question? Like if they put 1 in the chat, can they do that with the Q&A, or can they use a chat function?
I think the chat function only allows, yes, if they in the chat, they can send a message to you. They won't be able to see each other's responses. Another thing you could do is use the reaction function. So like
Got it.
you could get a thumbs up.
Perfect. Okay,
Okay.
so then let's do that. Let's do a reactions feature. So if you have used ChatGPT before, give me a reaction. Any reaction with any icon that you can find, because I know sometimes people have problems finding the reactions button. But if you can, throw in some kind of emoji or a heart, a thumbs up, whatever you have available. So I do see some thumbs up already. So that's fantastic that people are using artificial intelligence already. And as everybody knows, artificial intelligence, there's so many hundreds and hundreds of apps now, almost thousands of apps. So if you haven't used it, uh, now is a time for you to adapt those skills. Adaptability skills are going to be the most important skills going forward. So, okay, so this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to learn how to use a prompt. A prompt is the request that you give the artificial intelligence. We are going to be talking about the resume and how you can master the resume and optimize it with applicant tracking system. Everybody pretty much uses ATS systems now, and we're going to get into all of this. We're also going to talk about how you can be more proficient in preparing for your interview by storytelling. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn and networking. Obviously, that's a lot of information for 1 hour, an hour and 20 minutes, but we will do our best. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the one thing that I wanted to share with you is that FlexJobs is an organization. They did a survey in 2024, and they surveyed 5,600 people. And out of those 5,600 people, they determined that 17% of those people are already using artificial intelligence in their job search. So what does that mean for us today? That means that without artificial intelligence, you may be missing opportunities. You may be holding yourself back because you're not adapting the technology. And those that are using artificial intelligence have that competitive edge. So the job search process, it's not just your resume, it's not just applying for a job. There's a whole bunch of things that encompass that job search process. And one of the things that we're going to talk about more throughout the presentation is artificial intelligence is your thinking partner, it's your brainstorming partner, it's not the end all be all. A ton of people are really worried about how is AI going to affect jobs? Is it going to replace my job? And yes, it's kind of like when we had the Industrial Revolution way back when. Obviously, a lot of people lost jobs because those machines started coming in and they started replacing human beings. But the cool thing about artificial intelligence is that it may replace jobs, but it's never going to replace the human. We're still going to need those relationships. In fact, having those one-on-one relationships, that networking, building those connections is going to be more important than ever. So think of artificial intelligence as your partner. It empowers you to compete better. It revolutionizes how you're going to approach your career. It gives you a different perspective and point of view that you may not have thought about. So, for me, all of these components really build confidence for you as you're navigating this complex job market. Okay, so one of the most critically important things that you need to know about artificial intelligence is how to use the prompts properly. If you don't know how to use the prompts properly, yes, you're still going to get some good information, but if you know how to use the prompts properly, you're going to get some fantastic information. Okay, so what is a prompt? A prompt is just the question that you have in your mind that you're trying to answer. So it's the request that you're giving artificial intelligence. And today we're gonna work specifically with ChatGPT. It's the one that's more common. The majority of people are familiar with ChatGPT. There is a free account for ChatGPT. And there's also a paid account. I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to use the paid account. The big difference with those two is that the paid account um, pulls from more relevant current information, whereas the free account may have a little bit outdated information. So the type of information that you receive might be a little bit different depending on the type of account that you have. And the big key here is that the more um, direction and clarity you provide, the better the answer you get. So again, the prompt are just the instructions, the request that you're giving artificial intelligence, and this is our little buddy ChatGPT. Okay, so there's 5 things that you want to take into consideration when providing a prompt. First of all, you want to make sure that it's clear. So clarity is really, really important. So is whatever is the prompt clear and is it easy to understand? And if you read it and you can, and your brain can go like different ways, then it's probably not clear enough. So clarity is the very first thing. Okay. The second thing that you need in order to write a really amazing prompt is the context. Giving ChatGPT enough information so that whenever it gives you the response, it knows the type of situation that it's dealing with. Also, you can give AI the same prompt and it's probably going to give you a different answer every time because it's that generative component. It has that algorithm that is constantly trying to it's trying to please you. It's a people pleaser. So it's going to give you different options. And a lot of times I literally have to say, okay, ChatGPT, do not change it anymore. So okay, so again, the more context you provide, the more relevant and personalized the information is going to be. So first we have clarity, now we have context. The next one, and this one is really, really important, is the perspective. And this is where, from you as a job search candidate, you want to make sure that if you're working on your resume, you say, from the perspective of a professional resume writer, do this. So you want the artificial intelligence to think from the perspective that you need it to think from to get the answer that you're looking for. So that point of view is really, really important. So we're going to talk a lot more about that. Okay. The next element is you need to be specific. So adding the right amount of detail is really going to help. If you're way too general, then you're going to get, general information. So it's that the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. So you want to make sure that you're specific enough. And then finally, you want to make sure that if you're not getting the information that you need to change the prompt and refine it. So I use ChatGPT every single day pretty much. And um, I have I have found that over time, my prompts become more and more sophisticated because I use a universal prompt that includes these 5 elements, and I will show you how to do that. But with these 5 elements in your corner, you can ask ChatGPT any question and you can apply the universal prompt and it'll enhance the prompt and it'll give you a much better answer than you would have started from the very beginning. So this is fine tuning, adjusting it, and you're always going to be needing to double check everything that ChatGPT gives you because we always say, we kind of joke that it hallucinates because I can go onto ChatGPT with no information and say, hey, write me a bio, and it'll tell me that I'm a PhD, which I'm not, a lawyer, a doctor, which I'm not. So you definitely have to double check everything that ChatGPT gives you as an output, especially when it comes to your resume, because you don't want it to make up anything. So those are the 5 key elements. Again, it's clarity, context, perspective, specificity, and then finally refinement. So all of those components are going to be part of the universal prompt that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to start into the first topic, which is your resume mastery and the ATS optimization. And for those of you that don't know what ATS is, that's the applicant tracking system. So pretty much the majority of companies, I think I read a statistic that like 95% of companies that are hiring use some kind of applicant tracking system. So that basically is the application that they use to receive resumes electronically, to scan them, weed them out, and then identify the ones that qualify for that particular position. And then usually that's the recruiter or human resources. Once they identify people that qualify for that position, then they may give the hiring manager, 10 different resumes to interview people, and then make a decision for the best person that's the best candidate for the position that's open. So that applicant tracking system process is all electronic, but again, most companies use it. And again, we're gonna touch base on that as well. So what I'm going to do first, we're going to get into ChatGPT in a little bit, but what I'm going to do first here, I'm just going to give you some tasks that ChatGPT can do for you when it comes to your resume. So these are all tasks that you can do with ChatGPT to enhance your resume. Now, your resume is part of the job optimization. So it's not just the resume, it's the resume, the interviewing, the LinkedIn, networking, all those things put together. That's the entire job optimization process. So what are some of the things that you can do with the resume? And if you have used ChatGPT to enhance your resume, whether it's your header or your job descriptions, put it, do an emoji, do a thumbs up so that I know that you guys are still with me, that you're listening, and that you have used ChatGPT before. So excellent. I see some thumbs up already coming through. So thank you for that. Okay, so you can improve your resume with expert feedback. So what does that mean? I can upload my resume into ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, give me your feedback, give me an audit of what you think about my resume. And then it'll give you some pros and some cons. You can say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a powerful attention grabbing summary. So that's a professional summary or an executive summary, but that's the formal elevator pitch that goes on your resume. You can also say, hey, match my resume to the job posting, meaning make sure that it's aligned with the keywords, with the job description and the resume. You can also say, can you please provide me with my top key skills? So you can copy and paste your resume and say, identify the top 12 key skills so that I can showcase my accomplishments. So it can do that. Um, you can enhance each job individually. So you can do it all at once. I like to do each job individually because it just keeps it really tight to that particular job. But every single job that you have on your resume, you can enhance it and make sure that it's in the proper verb, in the proper format, all that good stuff with ChatGPT. A few other things that you can do with the applications overall. You can have ChatGPT write a custom letter, a custom thank you note. So what you do is you copy and paste the job description and say, hey, help me write a cover letter, help me write a thank you note. And all you have to do is do that. However, with the 5 elements that I told you, we have that universal prompt, and then I'm going to show you how to enhance those requests, those prompts. Uh, you can actually have AI help you make sure that your resume passes that applicant tracking system. Typically, there's different applications like JobScan is an application that you can upload a job description and upload your resume, and it'll give you a score of how well aligned those are. And I think for JobScan, you can do 3 scans free a month. Otherwise, you have to upgrade to the paid. So 3 scans a month is pretty good. You can discover if the job fits your experience. You can identify the skills, the key skills for the job that you're applying for. And you can also do some market research to learn about the company and scour their website and things like that. So those are all part of the applicant process. Okay, shifting a little bit to how can I use AI to help me with my interview preparation and storytelling? As Angela mentioned, I'm a career coach, and a lot of people have recently been coming to me, not just to help them with the job search optimization with AI, but also with how can I interview better? What can I do? And I can tell you that these are great things that you can do with AI to get ready and to get prepared. And the big thing that I tell people all the time is that the more you are prepared, the more you know about yourself, the more you can articulate how you can help others meet their goals. So it's really important for you to learn about you and your skill set and what is it that you even aspire to be. Some people come to me and they're like, I don't know what I want to do. So you need to, use some reflection time to figure that out. But you can do things like ask ChatGPT to give you interview questions specific to that job. So you copy and paste the job description, say, hey, give me 20 different questions that you think would be that a hiring manager would ask about this particular job. I love this one. This is kind of like my secret weapon for my clients because we draft out if you were to be selected to this job, what would you do in the first? So we're going to talk more about that. You can create your powerful story vault. So essentially, your top 10 skills that you're super proud of that you've done in your career, and we want to showcase those as a story. And those are the 10 stories that you're going to review every time that you go into before you go into an interview, so that you kind of jog your memory about your accomplishments. But the beautiful part of that about that is using ChatGPT to help you put it into that problem, that agitation, and then that solution. So all of those things you can do with ChatGPT. And then, of course, if you're stuck on a response that you're like, I'm not sure how I'm going to respond to this, you can ask ChatGPT to give you ideas on how to structure a confident response to any of the questions that it provides you. Okay. So again, these are just the tasks. We're going to go into ChatGPT shortly, and I'm going to actually show you how to do this. So the last kind of phase of this process is LinkedIn and networking. And as many of you know, LinkedIn is a very powerful application where you can go and you can post your profile, and it has a headline and it has an about section and it has your experience on there. But a lot of times people don't know how to write a headline. So you can use ChatGPT, you can upload your resume and say, hey, ChatGPT, help me write a compelling headline. Now, obviously, help me write a compelling headline is just the basic prompt, the basic task, but we're going to optimize it with the universal prompt. Again, the about section is really important, especially with those SEO skills. SEO is the search engine optimization. So when you type something into Google, Google goes back in the background and it literally scours the web for those key skills, and it tries to match that, and it pulls back the web pages that are corresponding to that, and then it gives you, hey, here's the 50 web pages that I found these particular key skills, and that's what the search engine optimization does. So it's really, really important. And then, of course, your experience on LinkedIn should not mirror your resume. It should be more conversational, more storytelling, so you can enhance the experience on LinkedIn. You can definitely write thoughtful recommendations, and you can write thoughtful comments. You can also do things like, if you become a thought leader, you can create posts, and you can create a whole social media strategy using ChatGPT. So again, you can do a ton of things. I'm going to just briefly show this QR code because at the end I'm going to show it again. You're going to get a landing page. So I'm going to give you a landing page with a lot of these resources, the PowerPoint, and all you have to do is fill out a very, very brief survey. So again, if you haven't gotten the QR code, don't worry, because I'm going to display it at the end as well. Okay, so I'm gonna show you just a couple of prompt examples, and then we're gonna go into ChatGPT. Okay, so this is an example of a prompt. Right now, the person doing this prompt wants to enhance their professional summary. So I can say, hey, ChatGPT, help me write a strong professional summary for my resume. And I'm giving it a little bit of perspective. I have 10 years of experience in the project management, in the tech industry, specializing in team leadership, et cetera, et cetera. And then here is my current summary. So you just put that information, and then it'll pop up an enhanced response. So again, hang on, because I will shift into ChatGPT shortly. Okay, this is another one. Help me write a cover letter based on the job description. So we put in the job description. This is the information that I gave it as far as the perspective goes. And then I hit enter, and it goes and gives me the entire prompt. And then I think the last one here is for LinkedIn. This is to help enhance the headline and the about section, which are, I think, the most visible and critical components when someone is looking at you on LinkedIn. They're like, okay, what does this person do, the headline, and what are they all about? So then they go to the about section. So this is just another basic example. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. Let me stop sharing this, and then we are going to go back into ChatGPT. So give me 1 second to pull that up. Okay. All right. This is where all the magic happens, and I am gonna. Okay, so I originally said to you, Angela, can you see the webinar prompts document that I have up?
I see ChatGPT.
Okay. Sometimes it'll pull up the right document, sometimes it won't. Okay. Okay. So this is what I am calling a universal prompt. So as you can see here, this prompt has all of those elements, those components that I had mentioned at the very beginning. So we are talking about clarity, we're talking about context, perspective, specificity, and refinement. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be your kind of magic bullet here, is every time you use artificial intelligence and you put in a prompt or a request, I'm always going to add this universal prompt, and I will make sure that it's on the landing page as well. But this right here is a game changer. So I'm going to so the way you use this universal prompt is you write your original request. You're kind of like, hey, help me write, my keys, or help me identify my key skills. And then you add that universal prompt, and then you say, help me enhance the prompt. And then the fourth step is adding all the appropriate criteria, and then off you go. So let me give you a perfect example of this. Okay. So we're going to now go into ChatGPT. All right, sorry if I don't switch the screens, that doesn't give me the right one. Okay. Okay, so the very first prompt here is improve my resume. Improve your resume with expert feedback. So what does that mean? That means that I want to make sure that I am using that I'm getting an audit first from ChatGPT as far as my resume is concerned. So I'm going to say, hey, help me improve my resume with expert feedback. And then optimize my resume for a marketing manager. So this is kind of the detail that we were talking about, the specificity. For a marketing manager role at Kearney, I'm applying for a marketing manager position. Kearney is a business consulting firm, and I need an expert feedback from the perspective of a professional resume writer. So that's the perspective. So the 3 points is you want to be clear on, you want expert feedback. The specificity is that you are a marketing manager at Kearney and you're applying for a job and it's a consulting firm and you want detailed feedback. Then the key focus areas are, you want to make sure that the information is aligned, that it's clear and readable, that it's ATS optimized. So let's just see what that does. So now when when you are giving it the information that it needs. And let me back up as far as like how you can give it the additional information, the specific information for your resume. Because I have the paid version, I can just go to my file, grab my resume, and attach it. If you don't have the paid version, if you have the free version, then all you have to do is copy and paste the resume right into the chat box here. And that's all you need to do. Um, and by the way, when it comes to the look of ChatGPT, on the left here, these are all my old threads that I've had that I've done for myself. These are all the various types of tasks that you can do within ChatGPT. And the ChatGPT here are the different versions that you have. So I always just go with the great for more questions because the most common one that I use. And then the box down here is where you can actually add all of your information. So when I added my prompt originally, I asked it to give me a review of my resume, but I forgot to attach the resume. So then it's telling me, hey, upload the resume, and then I can provide you with the information. So I uploaded the resume, and now it's providing me with key areas of improvement. And then it will give me kind of like section by section because it was just I asked it to give me a basic audit. So it's telling me how to set up my header, and it will give you some information on why it's doing what it's doing. So right here, why removing the full address is a modern practice. So you no longer have to have, so this is my full address. You no longer have to have the full address on the resume. You have to have the city, the state, and a lot of times the zip code because people, employers search by zip code. So that's really key information to have. And then your LinkedIn URL is always important to add on there as well. Next is giving me a little bit of a summary on feedback on the summary. It's giving me some feedback on the experience. So each one of these is telling me, so this is a current title, this is the suggested title. So it is giving me the feedback that I wanted. And then it actually gave me the keywords, the optimized keywords, again, the applicant tracking system keywords from that resume that I provided. It's giving me the educational and additional sections. And again, with each one of these, it's giving it to me in a much more readable and easier to understand basis. So that's the very first thing that we're doing here.
Rosie, I have a couple questions
Yeah.
that kind of are related to exactly what you're doing right now. The first is why ask from the perspective of a professional resume writer and not the hiring manager?
Because the professional resume writer is the first person that is going to be impacting your job search. And why? Because you need a resume before you even get to the hiring manager. The hiring manager is definitely going to look at your resume, but the hiring manager, that's when you want to start dealing more with the interview questions versus the resume. So I know they're related, but they're actually two separate things. When you're working on your resume, you want it to be from the perspective of a professional resume writer because the resume writer will pull out all of your accomplishments, pull out all of your keywords. At that point, you're not yet dealing with the hiring manager. So that's why you do it from the perspective of the professional resume writer first. And then when you're ready to work on your interview, then you do it from the perspective of the hiring manager.
Okay, one more question. Does the format of your resume matter when you're uploading it into ChatGPT?
The format does matter. Oh, not into ChatGPT. Into ChatGPT, it's super easy. You can just type. type and type and type and type, and it'll kind of figure out what you're trying to say. And if it doesn't, that's when you refine it. But when you're putting stuff into ChatGPT, the format does not matter. It does not have to be anything formal. It doesn't have to be in any kind of font or anything like that. So it's just raw information. When I have a lot of stuff to do, I because I have ChatGPT on my phone and it's compatible with my desktop ChatGPT. So I will dictate. So if I want to dictate an entire accomplishment and I want to turn it into a story, I will um, speak into my phone, into the ChatGPT app, the entire story that I'm trying to create. And then I work on it on my desktop. So you can do that as well.
That's it for now. All the more general questions we'll save for the end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's go to, okay. Okay, so let's just do one that's generic. So this is when I am going to use that universal prompt. So let me pull up that prompt. Give me a second. And anytime I'm using with ChatGPT, I always have two screens available because I do a lot of copying and pasting. Okay, so this is a good example of, hey, craft a compelling professional resume or professional summary for my resume. And I'm going to copy and paste that universal prompt enhancement request, which essentially says, hey, before you give me the request, make sure that when you're giving me the answer, make sure that it's clear, that we have the context, the perspective, all those things. And I already had, and it remembers what you gave it before. So it already has my resume. It already has some information that it audited. So it kind of keeps a running tab of what I've already done in the past. So I'm just gonna enter, click my arrow here, enter. And now it's enhancing that prompt. So now this is the optimized because I gave it the prompt. I told it what perspective to think from. Now this is the optimized professional summary. Now, to me, this summary is really long. I only want like half of it. So the cool thing about ChatGPT is you can say, that is way too long. Please make it more concise and make it in my voice. So, meaning make it sound more like me. Also, make it more engaging and less stuffy. Sometimes ChatGPT can give you some words that you're like, okay, that sounds really good, but what does that mean? I don't like that at all. So now the summary, if you can see, it's much longer up here. It's still a little bit long, longer than I would like to see. So this is where we start using that refinement, right? So I can say, still too long, it's too long, and then it'll make it a little bit more concise again. Now that actually looks like it's like it can fit into my resume, and it says marketing leader who turns ideas into powerful brand stories that drive engagement and business growth. That is so much better than the first original one where it says results driven marketing leader with proven track record. I mean, what does that even mean? So when I say make it sound more engaging, make it sound more human, make it sound so that, when someone is reading it, they can actually understand what it is that they're reading. Okay, so let's move on to a couple of other things that you can do. Okay, the summary. One of the big things that you want ChatGPT to do is to identify your key skills. When you're using ChatGPT, if or when you're trying to optimize your resume, you want to make sure that you are, sorry, I'm trying to copy this universal prompt. You want to make sure that your key skills are highlighted. So a lot of times people will put their key skills at the bottom. And what we do for my company, we use the header, we do the professional summary. Sometimes we'll do like one major achievement that the person really wants to highlight. And then we do a table of the key skills. And I'll show you what I mean. And on the landing page, you will get 3 different types of resumes that we've written professionally through my company. So you will have those examples that you can follow. So now, again, I said identify and highlight my key skills and achievements. I gave it the universal prompt, and now this is what it's giving me. So it's giving me the key skills: marketing, strategy and brand positioning, content creation, messaging, um, audience engagement and thought leadership, et cetera, et cetera. These are the key achievements. So now when I put in a resume that was like really old, or it's not really what I want, it's pulling all of the content and it's actually enhancing it, which is how powerful all of this. And it also always keeps it into the same tense too. Typically, unless it's a current job, everything else is in past tense. So it will do that as well. Okay, give me a thumbs up if this is helping you, if you're resonating with this. I know it's a lot of information, but it is really powerful, especially when you start playing around with it. You will see how powerful. I see a lot of thumbs up, which is actually really cool. So thank you for that. Okay, we're going to transition to a little bit on the process, because I want you to really understand how the process goes. One of the biggest things that you can do, let's just assume that your resume is already done. You already optimized every portion of your resume using ChatGPT. Again, you're going to get the templates, the resume templates, so you will be able to visually see how we set up our information. And you now have your resume done and you're ready to start applying for jobs. The very first thing that you need to understand is that gone are the days where you only do one resume and you hand it out to everybody. Remember, FlexJobs said that 17% of people are using ChatGPT or AI for their job optimization. So what you want to do is every single job that you apply or that you want to apply for or submit your resume, you need to request the key skills for that particular job. And then you want to go into your resume and sprinkle those key skills throughout the resume, so that when the resume goes through the applicant tracking system for the company, the employer's website, there is an alignment between the key skills in the job description and the key skills in your resume. So it's that part is going to be really, really important, because you want to make sure that your key skills um, are displayed on your resume, as long as obviously they're matching the job that you're applying for. So let me go into ChatGPT here. So I want the key skills for a job description, and I have a job description ready, so let me pull that up. And it could be, if you want to practice, it could be any job description that you have, so that you can see how powerful ChatGPT is. So give me 1 second. Here we go. So I just pulled a marketing manager job description from LinkedIn, and I'm going to go into ChatGPT and say, hey, extract the key skills from this job description. So literally all I do is copy and paste the entire job description. So this is the entire job description raw, just as it is. And I'm going to say extract the key skills from the job description below, and I'm going to say use the universal prompts that we have been using above. So again, it remembers what you've been doing, which is like really cool because you don't necessarily have to be repeating it. And now here are the key skills that ChatGPT is extracting from that job description. So the amazing thing now is that you know that in order for you to be successful in this job, you have to know about marketing strategy and campaigns. You have to know about brand positioning and messaging, content creation and thought leadership, digital marketing, et cetera, et cetera. But now these are the skills that you want to make sure that your resume shows in once you update it for this particular job. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pull up an actual resume template. And again, this is as long as you use the QR code, you'll get a copy of these resumes. But I just want to show you an example. Let me pull this up. Okay. So this is an example of a resume. Let's see. Nope, sorry. Oh, here we go. Are you guys seeing the resume on ChatGPT? Give me a thumbs up.
Yep, we see your resume.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is a template that you're going to be getting. Again, the information above is all specific. This particular resume shows the target job that you're trying to obtain. Not the job that you're doing now, but the target job that you're trying to obtain. Um, a little bit of, we did this one a little bit, but this is essentially the professional summary statement. This is one of the key achievements, and this is what I wanted to show you here. This key value offerings section is where you highlight the key skills that you want to make sure that the person that's reading your resume sees right away. Typically, a person that's reading your resume might give you 30 to 45 seconds to read the resume before you walk into the interview. So we are huge proponents of having, again, your professional summary, then some kind of accomplishment if we need it, and immediately before you even jump into the experience, highlight the key value offerings, the key skills, however you want to title that, but excuse me, that is really, really important to have before any of the other stuff. And then of course we have your career highlights or your professional experience. And then towards the bottom, we have the education. We can have certifications, associations, volunteering, anything like that. But I'm telling you, the key skills is really, really important. And then you don't only put them in this table. And by the way, this resume is optimized for applicant tracking system. As you can see, there's nothing fancy. We don't use any fancy formats. Everything is very basic. A lot of times people use like pictures, pie charts, graphs, but all of that just takes away from the scoring of the applicant tracking system. So we never recommend to do anything fancy. Everything has to be very basic, very standard. And this table will not impact the applicant tracking system because it's just one table with 3 columns. So very simple, very basic. But so just to confirm, why are you getting the key skills from the job description? Because you want to make sure that your resume aligns with the job description. So for every job that you apply, you want to grab those key skills and then sprinkle them throughout your resume so that it will be applicant tracking system available. Okay. Any questions that are coming up?
Um, yes, let's see. Um, does well, on the topic of the applicant tracking system, does the question is, does ed or ing at the end of a verb affect the ATS review?
Um, so typically when we do our resumes, anything that is a former job, we always put into, so like for example, all of these verbs here is enhanced, and the career highlights enhanced, spearheaded, cultivated. So it's always in past tense. Some people do the current job. So this one that's November 2020 or 2018 to present. Some people do it in current tense for this job, and then everything else is in past tense. We like to do everything in past tense because you've already done it. So that's how the majority of professional resume writers do it. So in the past tense verb.
Another question, can you ask ChatGPT to insert key skills into your resume?
Okay, so that's a tricky one. Although you can ask it to give you ideas on where to insert it, I would not ask ChatGPT. I wouldn't, for example, feed my resume, say, hey, sprinkle these key skills throughout, because remember I said ChatGPT is always, it's generative, so it's generating new information constantly. So what does that mean? That means that whatever you put from your resume that you originally liked and you were comfortable and you loved, it's going to change it constantly. So that's the one thing that I tell my clients, this part you have to do manually, because you can, the one thing that you can ask ChatGPT to do is feed your resume in, say, where do you think I can slot in these key skills? It'll tell you where, and then you do it manually. I would not trust ChatGPT to actually update your resume for you. So you can ask it for recommendations on where to put the key skills in the resume, and then you physically manually go and add it yourself.
Another question, actually, this are two people asked similar questions. One person asked, where in the process do I include my personality? Another person asked, is there a danger that your resume is going to include the same language as other applicants who are using ChatGPT?
Yes, there is a danger, but that's where you can say, um, so like, for example, I've been working with ChatGPT for well over a year and a half now. So however I type things in, it starts learning how I write. It starts learning my personality. So a lot of times, and I did hear a podcast where a student was trying to write a paper, and he fed three different papers that he himself wrote into ChatGPT, and then he actually fed in a plagiarized paper, and he said, hey, make this paper sound in my voice. Now, obviously, we do not use ChatGPT or anything to plagiarize. I am not recommending that anybody plagiarizes, but it is a good example of how, if you have written documents that you personally have written, you can feed it into ChatGPT and say, hey, put this particular cover letter in my voice. How you make it sound like yourself is, you can say, that is way too serious. That is way too, that's not serious enough. Make it funny, make it sassy, make it uh, personable, make it engaging. All of those actionable verbs, you can actually give a ChatGPT the tone of voice that you want it, so that it sounds more like you. And then again, remember that ChatGPT hallucinates, so you want to double and triple check the output that it's giving you to make sure that it is still accurate, because again, it wants to please you, wants to give you the right information, the right answer, but it may not be correct. So you want to make sure that it is giving you the answer that you want in the voice or the tone that you want it, and that it's all accurate information. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to, I know it's 8 o'clock now, so I'm gonna move on to the interview portion. So there's two things that I want to kind of showcase for the interview portion. Again, when you are um, using ChatGPT, you want to make sure, let's see, no. Okay, so create a story vault for behavioral interview questions. So I'm going to say create a story vault for behavioral interview questions. Use the universal prompt above. Okay, so why are we doing this? You want to walk into an interview extremely well prepared and know what you're going to say. So what I recommend my clients to do is have ChatGPT pull 30 different questions for that job description. So you copy and paste the job description just like I did. Say, hey, ChatGPT, give me 20 questions that you think the hiring manager would ask me. You take those 20 questions and you answer them, every single one. And then you want to highlight maybe 5 accomplishments for that particular job. Those are accomplishments that you would have had in your career, in your experience. And then you can say, hey, ChatGPT, help me to create these accomplishments into a story. So create a story vault for behavioral interview questions. We already have the questions. So you can say, uh, please help me generate 20 questions and put them in a sample answer into a problem agitation solution format, which is essentially the story. So what is the problem? What is the agitation or the consequence of the problem? And then the solution. And then I say use the universal prompt. So let's see what it does. And of course, sometimes, when you're trying to type really fast, it doesn't really understand. But now here it's telling me, it's giving me behavioral interview story vault questions. So how the story helps you. So yeah, the problem, agitation, solution. So the reason you want to put the accomplishment into a story is because number one, it's easier for you to remember it. And number two, it's easier for you to tell the story because you want to make that conversation engaging and conversational. You want to make sure that you're relating to the person. So you don't want to just spit out, well, I sold, $10 million in cars or whatever. You want to say, oh my gosh, we really had this problem. We weren't selling enough. People were in danger of losing their jobs, whatever the situation is. But you want to make it into a story that is interesting and engaging. So now it's giving you a question and then it's giving you a potential sample answer because even here it made up, increase product awareness by 40% in 3 months. So obviously I didn't do that, but it's giving you the idea and the framework. So the bottom line here is for you to go back through your employment history, identify 10 accomplishments that you're really proud of that will showcase your experience. Use ChatGPT to convert it into a story, and then those 10 stories become your story vault. And then every time you have an interview, you pull up your story vault, you kind of review it quickly to refresh your memory. And that's what you're going to use every time you go have an interview. Now, one of the biggest questions that people ask me, they're like, Rosie, what do I do if someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer? I'm like, oh, super easy. You say, I'm not really sure about that, but I can tell you about this. And then you pull one of the most relevant stories from your story vault and you talk about that. And then the follow-up trick is the rule of thumb, actually, there's a couple rule of thumbs. The first one is when you're submitting your resume, if there is a spot for a cover letter, always submit a cover letter. So that's the first rule of thumb. Second rule of thumb is if you have an interview, you submit a thank you note within 24 hours. Now, if you happen to remember that one question that you could not answer directly in the interview, take the time to answer it in the thank you note. So submit the thank you note, say, you know what, I thought about that question that you talked about in the interview, and here's what I think about it. And then you give them a little bit of an answer for that one story or that one answer, the question that you couldn't answer during the interview. So it just shows that you're able to follow through and that you remembered the question and that you went back and you thought about it and then you answered it in the post interview. Okay, so those are all of the stories. The second kind of golden nugget trick is I use what is called a 90-day plan. So the 90-day plan, so let's see, help me create a 90-day plan using the universal prompt. Okay, so the 90-day plan goes like this. In the interview, you want to talk about, you know what, I'm really excited about this marketing position at Kearney, and I've been thinking about what would I do if I were to be selected as the best candidate for the position. So what am I going to do the first 30, 60, and 90 days? And I've thought about it. So the first 30 days, I'm going to make sure that I understand the business and the industry. I'm going to study Kearney's brand position. The next month, and of course, there's a lot of information here. So the next month, I'm going to make sure that I refine the marketing strategy, that I talk to a lot of people, so on and so forth. And the final 30 days, I'm going to start implementing my plan. And then you don't necessarily give them the 90-day plan during the interview. You talk about it. And then when you send the thank you note, you attach a formal, I should say, a nicely formatted 90-day plan. And you're going to use the job description, you're going to use the website, you're going to use a LinkedIn page of one of the employees to kind of put together this 90-day plan. And the cool thing about the 90-day plan is that obviously it's completely made up, fictitious, because you don't really know the ins and outs of the company. But it gives them an idea that you're excited about the job, that you're motivated, that you're a forward thinker, and that you have taken the time to actually study the job description, their website. So it's a fantastic tool and idea for you to do and talk about during the interview. And then, and obviously, if you were to get the job, you can actually then go to your manager and say, hey, I had this 90-day plan when I was interviewing. Can we kind of go through this and figure out what I can actually implement? And then you can start changing it and pivoting from that perspective. So that's the 90-day plan. Angela, are there any questions?
Um, there are a few more questions. They're of the more general variety, so I was holding them to the end. Oh, wait, here's another one. Is there the possibility that you get it wrong with the 90-day plan if you try to add too many specifics and it makes you look bad?
I wouldn't. Okay, so that's a good point. So I wouldn't necessarily add too many specifics. I would try to keep it to what the job description says and what the website says. So if you're using those two sources, then I don't think you're going to be able to get it bad. But I don't even necessarily think that the 90-day plan is it accurate and is it actionable? It's more of it you were inspired, you were motivated, you took the time to do it. So I probably wouldn't do I wouldn't add all the things that ChatGPT provided you, but it's definitely a good starting point. And then you can obviously you're going to be the final decision maker. So you're going to be the one that you still have to discern the information, you have to sort it out, and if it feels like it's too much, then make it do the 90-day plan in a much more simple manner. So that is definitely for you to decide for yourself if it's too much and if it's too over the top per se.
Yeah, you know what? I actually will read these more general questions because they're really good. I want to make sure we get to them.
Okay.
One person asked, they say, I'm also an employer and I'm aware of websites that can indicate to someone that something was written with AI, kind of sniffs it out. Maybe because AI is more mainstream, that isn't something that is necessarily looked down on. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on using AI heavily for cover letters and resumes and employers being able to recognize it.
Yeah, so I always think of, especially with the cover letters and the thank you notes, it's draft one. So I always look at it as it's so much better to at least have a first template, a draft, and then from there I can gain some ideas on, oh yeah, that's really good. I can tweak my cover letter this way or that way. So I wouldn't necessarily take the cover letter and the thank you note that ChatGPT gives you. It's a starting point so that you can then start massaging it and put in your own magic, your own words, your own personality. Like that other question that we had. How do you show your personality? You show it with you going then and tweaking the information, massaging it, and making it sound like you. Ultimately, everything that we have talked about tonight, it has to feel authentic to you. It has to sound like you. It has to feel like you're the one that's creating the output. And you can also do things like, for example, I hate the phrase breaking the glass ceiling for women because what does that mean? I have no idea what that means. So I have instructed my ChatGPT to never use breaking the glass ceiling. So I can ask it to remind or to remember, don't use breaking the glass ceiling. Always add my signature on social media posts. Make sure that everything that you write is written in my voice. So when you have especially the paid version, you can give it a lot of instructions on who you are, what you do, so that it kind of has that context, that specificity of where you are in your career. So all of that can definitely be done with AI, and it still is authentic to you.
Another question. So how would a person who is changing careers use AI to change the words of past duties or skills to be relevant to a job that's completely different from what they've done in the past?
I would literally go onto ChatGPT and say, I actually have a couple of people, hey ChatGPT, I am currently a ninth grade teacher and I am looking to get into learning and development in the corporate world. Please give me some ideas on how I can start developing my skills so that I can transition from teaching into the corporate world. So you can do the narrative is going to be whatever your narrative is. Where you are today, tell ChatGPT where you are today, what you do, then tell where do you want to go, what do you want to do, and then help it bridge the gap. So give me ideas on how to do that. Another thing that you can use ChatGPT for is, for example, please provide me with the industries where I would be successful using my skills. And it'll go, it'll tell you a bunch of industries, industry by industry. So if you have a resume and you say, hey, I'm a teacher. This is my resume. I hate teaching. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to figure out how I can use my current skills into other types of jobs. So now it's telling me I can go into consulting and professional services. I can go into technology. And it's cool because it gives you why, and it gives you ideas on the roles that you can pursue going forward. Financial services and insurance, been there, done that, don't want to do it anymore. I'm happy being a career coach. So healthcare and life sciences, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you a whole bunch of things. And then it says, final thoughts, where should you focus? And it gives you kind of ideas. And also it gives you names of companies as well. Does that make sense?
I believe so.
Okay.
Another question, could you use the 90-day plan to start a conversation about the culture? Because that's something that's kind of tricky to bring up in an interview sometimes.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you can always use the 90-day plan. So I guess the way I would do that, I do 90-day position yourself for success in the first 90 days through the Barrington Career Center. And what we do is the first 90 days, I always say it's kind of when you have to listen and observe what's going on. So you can notice things and then ask ChatGPT to help you figure out how you can bring it forth to your employer and say, hey, can we talk about X, Y, or Z? So you could use the 90-day plan. It's probably not the best tool to do that with, but I mean, you can always ask ChatGPT for ideas on how to do that.
Can Chat GPT tell me what jobs I should apply for based on my resume?
Yes, this is that's kind of like what I just did. So I said, identify the jobs. Um, what did I say? So identify the jobs, provide me with industries where I would be successful using my skills. So you can change that to, hey, ChatGPT, I either copy and pasted my resume or I attached my resume. Please tell me what industries I would be most successful in. Please tell me what industries my skills are sought after right now. So yes, you can absolutely do that. Ask ChatGPT to help you identify the industries, identify the companies within those industries, especially if you want to be like, within 50 miles of, Chicago or Mount Prospect or wherever. So absolutely, you can do that.
Mhm. I believe we are all caught up on questions right now.
Okay, sounds good. So so we talked a lot about the resume, the job search process for LinkedIn. You can also, one of the other things that you can do with LinkedIn is go to ask, can you help me write a cold reach out email to network with people working in, I don't know, Nike. So it will help you craft an email or a message to someone that is working at Nike and say, hey, essentially you're like reaching out to them saying, hey, would you mind having, do you have 15 minutes for me? I'd really like to pick your brain with my background in like storytelling. I really admire Nike and I see that you're working there, blah, blah, blah. So it asks you, it helps you figure out what the best way to reach out to people. And generally when you say to people, hey, I'd really like to, get your advice, they're generally willing to, to give you 15 minutes. So that's not a big deal. At the Barrington Career Center, we use a book that's called the 20-Minute Networking book. And it literally gives you a a 5-question script on what you should spend those 20 minutes on. So it's really easy to kind of figure out what you should say. But again, all of this information that we're talking about right now is the more of this that you can know and learn about yourself, the easier it is to explain it to somebody else. And I always tell my clients, when you tell the hiring manager, hey, I'm a marketing strategy and brand storytelling expert, and I can help you meet your goals by enhancing your social media strategy, they have a problem. You always, in an interview, you always kind of have to think about it from the perspective of the hiring manager. What is the problem that they have, and how are you the best person to solve that problem for them? That's the perspective that you want to think about this from. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. We've already talked about everything that I had promised you that we would talk about. So tonight you learned how to write a prompt and make sure that you use that universal, those elements, the clarity, the specificity, the context, all those things to create better prompts. We talked a lot about the resume mastery and how to optimize it with ATS. And obviously, this is just a brief 90-minute training session. So it's impossible to cover it all. But the key here is I'm teaching you how to fish, and now you have the fishing rod and you can go do it yourself. We talked a lot about preparing for your interview with the Story Vault and your 90-day plan. We talked about LinkedIn, the strategy, and enhancing your headline, enhancing your about section. We talked about networking. So all of these pieces are components of the job search process. And again, you can use ChatGPT to research companies. There's another application that's called Perplexity. I believe it has a free version as well, but Perplexity is an amazing tool to do market research. So anytime I'm trying to do market research, I always go to Perplexity over ChatGPT, because with Perplexity, it'll give you the exact link to the website that it's gathering the information from. So you can always go back and reference that particular resource. So these are all the things that we talked about. And I'll open it up for some final questions in a second. But again, I'm Rosie Zilinskas. I have my website and my podcast that are called No Woman Left Behind. And you can always connect with me on the social medias. I'm at Rosie Career Coaching on social medias. And I think the biggest thing that I want to leave you with tonight is that you have to be brave and you have to be bold. But the biggest thing that I urge you to do is to take action, because without taking action, nothing happens. And so I know we still have some time for questions, but this is the QR code that will give you, and I'll pull up the landing page so that you can see what you're going to get. But this QR code will bring you into a landing page. You will get a copy of the slides. You will get a copy of 40 ideas of prompts. Now, they're not the optimized prompts, because otherwise it would have been like a 400-page booklet, but just 40 different ideas that you can use ChatGPT to optimize your job search. You're also going to get 3 different templates for the resume. You're going to get some cover letter and thank you note ideas on how to actually write them, and then some examples of those particular ideas. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, because as you can tell, I'm really passionate about career advancement. I love to help people advance in their career. And I always say, do it with intention and confidence. So I will stop there. And the last thing that I will do is I will share with you what that landing page is going to look like. So let me make sure that that's up. Angela, are there any other questions thus far?
Um, I don't, well, the last question was, can we get a copy of the universal prompts? So you've already answered that. Yep, I'm really glad that you're going to get to share those. That's really
Yeah,
valuable. Yep.
so this is what you're all going to get. With that QR code, this is a landing page that you're going to get, and these are all downloadable. So when you click on each of these, you will get the download. You're going to get a copy of the slides. This is the guide, the Leverage AI for career success. So a lot of the things that I talked about, it's explained in this guide in a lot more detail. These are the 40 prompts. They're just the raw prompts. They're not enhanced or optimized. You're going to get a cover letter, how to actually write a cover letter, how to write a thank you note with some actual templates for those. And then you're going to get three different, this is just a picture, but you're going to get three different ATS resumes, and then you're going to get some Canva resumes. A lot of people do want to bring a kind of fancy resume with like their picture, kind of like this. Those you can do, but not to submit it through the applicant tracking system. You can always bring it if you want to do. I don't really think people do that anymore. But if you want to have a fancy resume with your picture, kind of like this, then you can certainly do that. But again, you're only going to get this if you go to the QR code and answer that questionnaire. So hopefully this was helpful to you all. I know that every time I do one of these classes, people are really excited because what I want to do is empower you to do this by yourself. Now, I will preface it that you can spend too much time on your resume. So get it to like where you're happy, like 80, 85%, and then move on, because you're always going to tweak it with every position that you're going to apply for. So I knew a woman that spent well over a year just on her resume when I kept telling her, okay, get it to 80, 85%, and then work on the interview. I'd rather you guys spend the time working on how are you going to answer questions, create your story vault, create your 90-day plan, make sure that you have a cover letter and a thank you note that represent your personality, but that don't mirror your resume. It should be supplementing. The thank you note should be so that you can pull one or two points where you made the connection with the person interviewing, and you can remind them of that connection. So all of those are, part of the job optimization process is quite extensive, and you just got a very small glimpse, but at least you know now how to get started. So Angela, I will turn it over back to you.
Thank you so much. And I love the way you pulled it all together there. Just like you started at the beginning, how like these are great tools to get these documents going, but the human touch is still so important, right? Though like the tools they're there to make the connection. They're there to make that like personal connection. Thank you so much, Rosie, for being here. No more questions, but lots of thanks. Lots of people saying thank you. Really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you again for joining us. I'll be in touch later with an email. Feel free to send me any questions, and everyone stay warm. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.